Hey everyone, it's Kristen. So last time I talked about this in preparation for the cartoon that has the same title. It's the love story between her and Forge. And so today we're talking about part two, which I feel like this is more about Storm finding herself, which I feel like they'll in the cartoon they'll lean more towards this instead of this because with this one they already kind of gave Storm a love story. Her, in the cartoon, her and Archon. I mean, granted, that was just like a story that they made up and stuff, but for the cartoon, but I feel like she already had a love story, so I don't think they necessarily do life death love story like this again. So I think they're more going to go in this direction where Storm's finding herself. So I just wanted to briefly show you something in this so you can, kind of see what's going on in this issue. So if you saw my Trial of Magneto video, that's where you saw the introduction of the Venner's twins. And so Storm, they were hassling the locals. Storm stepped in. So this is their revenge. They shot this lion and then they shot her. And she's in Africa after leaving, behind Forge. And she's just, I think, trying to, find herself, trying to get back to her roots. And she's in the desert in East Africa, wandering around like, she's been shot. And there's a sandstorm that blows up. And she starts to see a mirage of Forge. And he's like, you've been shot. It's cracked your skull. You have to take cover. You have to get out of here. You have to find cover from the sandstorm. And she's like, oh my gosh, Forge, you came to save me. I love you. I've missed you so much. And then she pushes him away and says, wait, what am I saying? What am I doing? Stay away from me. He's like, but let me help you. Like, I love you. And she's like, no, you're hollow. You tried to make me just as hollow as you by taking away my powers. You know. Anyway, so she steps away and she trips over a viper. And she's not sure if she got bit or not, but she crawls into this cave. She finds some shelter from the sandstorm, at least. And she's like, well, at least now I can die in peace. And so in there, she sees the X-Men. And she's like, oh, Kitty, you know. And then she changes and she's like, I'm mad. She's like, you took me from my home. And because of you, I've lost my soul, my oneness with nature, the powers of a goddess. I've become nothing. And then she sees Jean and she's like, I'm so sorry. I loved you as a sister and a friend, but I couldn't save you. And then Wolverine says, basically, if you want me to end it, just say the word and I will. And Charles says, I took you, you know, I took you away because you were afraid. And he basically he said, I took you out of your nest and, taught you how to fly. Because of course in Africa she was worshipped as a goddess, and that's what people regarded her as. But of course she's not a goddess. And so that's why Professor Xavier, well, plus, she's immune and he needed her help, but that's why he took her out of Africa so that she could learn that no, she's not a goddess. She's, a human. And he said, if I hadn't, you probably would have perished with this land. And she's like, liar. And then she's like, no, wait, come back. I didn't mean it. Do not leave me. I mean, she's going through it because, I mean, she's wandering around in the desert. She's probably dehydrated, exhausted. She's been shot. She might have been bit by a viper. And then she realizes, oh, the viper's back. She didn't get bit. So now she treats it with more respect, like she doesn't panic. And she keeps wondering, and she thinks she smells smoke, but she's like, I smelled smoke in the cave. I thought it was Wolverine's cigar. But she sees a bus overturned and she sees a pregnant woman laying there. And basically, the pregnant woman's like, I need help. Is there anyone else that survived? Like, the bus driver couldn't see the sandstorm. It came up suddenly, and basically no one else survived. So Storm, she helps her as best she can. And her name's Shawnee. She's like, I want to go home. And so they walk just in the direction where, Shawnee thinks her village is because she was on her way home. They don't have much protection against the elements, but, because what happened is she used to live in the city and she thought it would be better in the city. And, she couldn't wait to leave her village, wait to leave her small town, like a lot of people. Um, and then she got to the city and realized it wasn't better. Like she didn't have a sense of belonging. She felt out of place there. So she wanted her baby to grow up where she grew up and have that sense of community and belonging. So they keep walking and they actually do make it to the village. And she sees her parents and she's just, you know, mortified in a way. And she's like, I'm so sorry. And the village elder, he welcomes them. And Storm, she just basically collapses. Like she faints. She's done. She can't do anything else. And so the village elder wakes her, or she wakes up and the village elder's there, and she's like, "How long I've been asleep?" He's not long enough to heal your injuries, that's for sure. And he says, "But Shawnee, she's calling for you. That's why I actually did wake you up. Her baby, she's in labor, but her baby won't come, and she's been calling for you." And then the people of the tribe are dancing in a way to hopefully appease the spirits, hopefully get Shawnee help. And Storm's like, well, I don't know what I can do. I'm not, trained as a midwife. I mean, I'll do all I can, but I can't, promise anything. And Shawnee's like, I hear my son crying within me. He doesn't want to die. I don't want him to die. So, Storm, you know, in with the people out of the tribe dancing outside, she does what she can. And she, she has a son, and but he's not crying, he's not breathing. So she gives him CPR, mouth to mouth, to hopefully get him to breathe and live. And she miraculously managed to, give him life. And so this is where the animated series borrowed from, or yeah, the animated series borrowed from this, because of course this was first. In Whatever It Takes, where Storm goes back to Africa because of Missionari, and her friend that birthed Missionari, but Storm gave him life. So that's where this borrows from. Anyway, so the baby's fine, and the chief elder, he's like, life is so miraculous, so wonderful. If you'll excuse me, I have one more thing that I need to do. And he strips off his robes and he leaves the village. Like, he starts walking. And Storm's like, where are you going? And he's like, I think you know. And he's like, why? Because I must. So this is kind of sad because, like, he tells the story of their village. He says that, they were happy, they were fine. And then, men came with their machines and their technology and their different ways, and they promised to make them prosperous. And they did for a time, but then every year the crops would need more fertilizer. And every year, the animals like they would overgraze the land, and then the winds would come and blow the topsoil away. And every time the machine broke down, they didn't have money to fix it. So now he's saying that they didn't care for the earth as it should have been cared for. Like they didn't treat it with the respect it deserved. And now their village is in a position where they can only grow the amount of crops to sustain the amount of people that are in the village. So every time a new life is born, someone older, the oldest person in the village, must die. So he left the village because Shawnee's child is born. So he definitely, I mean, really, because that's Shawnee and her child, not just another person. So that's two more people, really. So he's saying, for each child that's born, a sacrifice must be made. So Storm just says, this is just too harsh. I mean, and then she says, if I hadn't saved Shawnee, if I hadn't brought, the baby into this world, you'd still be alive. Like you could still live. And, he says, I'm old, my day is done, but Shawnee's baby represents hope, a change for the future, a new beginning. That is why this makes it a good thing. This is why we celebrate. And she's like, I won't celebrate. I will mourn the passing of a friend that I didn't know. And he just, you know, um, really instills in her that, don't be sorry, because of you, a life was brought into this world that's, more precious than anything. And, he's old and he's fine to sacrifice his life for another. So he willed himself to die, basically. And he tells her before he dies a story. And he says that, you know, there's a struggle going on, the very old against the very new, and one way must give way to the other, for that is nature's way. But see, what he's saying is that, technology in itself isn't bad, tradition in itself isn't bad, but there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a bridge between the two. Neither is wholly good, and neither of it is, terrible. So basically, he tells her, and what she realizes is that she's that bridge. She's the person who's born, of one and the other, and whose mind comprehends and whose hands command, the machines, in a sense, because she is immune, and but she's also human. But her mutant power allowed her to be in touch with the whole earth, the whole world. So she realizes that she is that bridge, that she's meant to, she's that bridge between humanity and mutants. And she's like, I'm not worthy to this. I'm not worthy of this. But she realizes she's found her home, she's found her purpose, and it's, the world. And she's found her reason for being is to, be that bridge to bring humanity and mutants together. She says, I have no powers my body cannot apply, but I no longer mind, for in my soul, heart and soul, where it truly matters, I soar higher than the stars. And then you just have this end shot here. So I just thought that was a cool story, of how she finally found her purpose. She finally understands what, being a mutant means, especially one with, her power that puts her so in tune with nature. And even though she can't feel that anymore, she does remember it. She does remember being, in touch with nature. And so I feel like somehow that's more the story they're going to go. Granted, obviously, they can't do the same story because they already did, the whole Mizhnari and saving him when he was not breathing, and so giving him life. Obviously, they can't do the same story, but I feel like it will be a story more like that, where it's more self-reflective and she finds herself. I don't see her losing her powers or anything like that, but of course I don't know, because of course she didn't have her powers for, I want to say, like maybe 30 issues. Well, after this point, it was still like another 30 issues before she got her powers. It was at the around the conclusion of the fall of the mutants, and that was, I think, like 227. So yeah, about 30 issues after this one. So I guess we'll see. Whatever it is, I'm excited. I know it's, going to be a Central Storm story, even though Rogue's my favorite. Of course, Storm is another one of my favorites. I have a lot of favorites, so I'm excited to see what they do with it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, and I will have been working on the mansion some more, and I will be posting some more mansion videos soon. So I hope you will join me for those, and until next time, bye.